We all have this built-in reservoir of resourcefulness, and it has resilience and well-being and peace of mind and creativity and connection. And that's all innate.
I kind of had an insight recently that I wanted to send my striver or my intellect, send it on a retirement. So it
Nice.
can go to Tahiti
Yeah.
and sip Mai Tais.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It just keeps showing up for work, doesn't it?
I realized how much of my work, unconsciously, I wouldn't have been able to articulate it before then, this way, but was somehow trying to overcome or master the human experience. That I realized, what if I didn't try to overcome it or control it? What would life offer me then? So what's on offer is to get really good at the human experience, the full range of it. Because the more I understand I'm okay no matter what, that all feeling is a temporary experience and moves through us, that meeting and seeing my worst fear about something is me meeting an imagination or meeting an illusion. So how do I just stick with it and see? Can we love the moments when we hesitate as much as we love the moments that we take the leap? Can I love the moments I decide I go before I even know it, I'm in my head analyzing, judging, doing whatever, as much as I love the feeling when I'm not on my mind at all? Like the opportunity to love and appreciate all of it, and that it's who we are. We are all of it. It's moving through us. It's a part of life. And so, I just invite everyone to see if they can let go of the director, trying to direct and control it, and see what happens when they allow their presence to lead, allow themselves to meet it all, and to widen the range of their human experience.
You might be expecting this podcast to discuss hot baths, meditation techniques, and breathing exercises. But really, those are only just pressure releases, and they don't fix the true cause. The true issue is a contracted mind. And a contracted mind creates stress, upset, frustration, and impatience. A relaxed mind creates inspiration, connection, fresh ideas, and solutions to intractable problems. We're going to explore how you can relax into presence. This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life. If you could create anything you wanted, what would you want to create? And if you could do it in a way that really spoke to who you were and spoke to what you wanted, how you wanted to express yourself, then I think the best way you could do it would be to create from presence. And we're going to be having a conversation about that. I have my guest today is Barb Patterson. She's a really wonderful coach, and I connected with her through, she was doing these webinars on being present and being a practitioner. And I really felt like there was something underneath the surface of what she was saying that was so powerful. And I want to tell you that it was a little subtle. So I want you to be open and take a look and really lean into what she's saying, because there's a depth to it. And I don't want you to miss out on it. So, Barb, thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Rich. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, it's funny. A memory came to mind when you said that. I used to, in my 20s, teach these personal development seminars and workshops all over the country. And I taught with I often taught with this man named Chuck, and he used to say I threw feathers that landed like bricks. So I don't know if that's what you mean by subtle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, how you came to be a coach, and really how you're focused on, it sounds like you're more focused on presence now. So what brought you to that?
Yeah, I've been in the personal development, professional development, kind of how do you bring your best self to whatever you're doing to your life, so that you can have the life of your dreams kind of stuff since I was really young. And it's been my career focus all of my adult life. And so I just love the exploration. Now, it's also, to be completely honest, a lot of that was also originally under the guise that you had some repair work to do if you wanted to have that life. You've got to work on your issues and your past and your subconscious, and you've got to, get your act together. And so I like to say that I was up for it and I had a good attitude about it, but it was a lot of work. Now I brought all that work. I've done hundreds of programs as a student and learning how to teach it and then sharing that in my work. And I started in personal development, but then through opportunity and connection, I got invited to go internal to create a professional training organization function within an organization, and it just felt right. So I said yes, and that really began my OD career, my leadership development career, employee performance, all of learning. So I did that for a long time, and my most recent position, which is now like 14 years ago now, was the head of global learning, talent management, executive development, and I lived in Paris and worked for this wonderful global organization. So, but at that time, I just started to feel a nudge to go back out on my own again. I had done it before, not with huge success, but I'd done it. And I just felt this inner pull to do it. So at that time, I moved back to the States and hired a coach. I wanted somebody that was going to help me, be a thinking partner and be strategic and do better than I did, the last time when I tried to do my own business. And that individual was Michael Neal, and he introduced me to an understanding of the mind and an understanding of our deeper nature and what is referred to often as the three principles, which are the teachings based on from Sydney Banks. And that had a really revolutionary impact for me. So I kind of like to describe it that I showed up with like my toolbox, and I loved that toolbox. And, if a client or an organization wanted to hire me to help their teams or their culture or engagement, or an individual leader or founder wanted help, it was like they're at A, they want to get to B, and then how I helped them get there was bringing in that toolkit from psychology, from everything around the mind and thought and behavior modification, all of that, personality assessments, communication training, all of that. And while I was always really hopeful, I was also often puzzled, even around myself. It was confusing to me why I could seem to change in one area fairly easy, but in other areas really struggle. And so that often looked like a personality disorder, a childhood issue, a subconscious issue. So I was puzzled. But when I started to consider like who we are at our core and who we are essentially, that we are both this, human having a human experience, but we're also this spiritual being having this spiritual experience. Now, I hesitate sometimes using the word spiritual because people can have a lot of ideas about what I mean by that. But really, we have this deeper innate nature. We all have this built-in reservoir of resourcefulness, and it has resilience and well-being and peace of mind and creativity and connection. And that's all innate. And seeing that that was innate, my practical mind, my kind of love of looking at how it all comes together was really like, okay, when I was first learning about it, and a deeper understanding of the mind and how thought works and all of that, I had one eye on, well, how is this going to help me in my business? How is it going to help me in my life? How's it going to help my clients? So I was listening through a lens that was trying to turn it into something. And one day I was sitting at my desk and looking out the window, and I just had this thought, like, I kind of fired myself. I was like, you're fired. You don't use this to try and help yourself or help other people. Take it in, like really become a student and let your own journey with it, make it personal in a way, right? And so when I started to do that, one of the things I got curious about was, well, if it's true that we're all of that, like we come to the table already designed to rise to the occasion, to well-being is within, peace of mind is within, clarity, insight, aha moments, like all of that is innate. So I don't have to manufacture it. I don't have to get my act together first. I don't have to have the right personality or the right, behavior, any of that. Like it's all innate. I started to wonder, well, what does that mean? Like, what are the implications of that? And all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, if I'm showing up to my business or to my relationships with that resourcefulness, do I need to manage myself so much? Do I need to manage the conversation so much? Do I need to try and manage you and your reactivity so much? Do I need to prep as much and rethink every conversation I have? When it matters to me most, what is the come from that allows me to access more of what we already have going for us? And I started to really see how in a more stirred up, internal, rushed, pressured, trying to figure it out state of mind, I was actually diminishing my ability to access more creativity, more fresh thinking, and so that relationship and that knowing and getting more of a felt knowing of it for myself was really changed everything, changed the way I work with people, changed what I point to, changed my life, changed the level of my relationships. It's funny. It's like, I don't mean to imply like everything is roses. Like we all know that's really not how it works, but everything was richer, that's for sure.
Well, that's really what we're looking for with releasing mental tension. I mean, I originally called my business, and the umbrella of my business is Rich Life Realization.
That's nice.
And I thought I would find it through working really hard on myself like you.
Yeah.
I thought that I could do the right morning routines and the right evening routines, and that would bring me this well-being and this success. And it's funny, ironically, it just made me more anxious and and more insecure.
Yeah.
And I thankfully found the principles actually through Michael Neal too. And it changed my way of looking at life and how I was using my thoughts. Yeah. And I loved how you kind of reflected that you were using it like a tool. Like it was it was kind of like a wrench. And if I can just get the right size of wrench and use it in the right way, and then I can turn all the good levers in life. But I think it was very wise of you to kind of set that aside and just really see what was there. Because if we use it like a tool, it's just going to be a tool that we're going to toss aside. But if we really look at some of these things with depth, with curiosity, with presence, then that's when they unfold. That's when it's like a flower, they blossom. And I think that's a gift. I also love that you said that you fired your mind, was that it?
Yeah, and the striver in me that was
The
like wanting to
striver.
get it and get it right and do good with it, that part of me. Yeah.
You fired the striver.
Yeah. She didn't really listen all the time. She kind of kept showing up to work, even to this day she shows up and but I still love her.
I kind of had an insight recently that I wanted to send my striver or my intellect, send it on a retirement. So it can go
Nice.
to Tahiti and
Yeah.
sip Mai Tais.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think you're right. It just keeps showing up for work, doesn't it?
It does.
But you
Well,
just have
and
to remind it.
yeah, and I think that if you look at it with more perspective and kind of see the innocence of it's just our desire to
Mm,
want to do well
mm,
or a desire to want to make a difference or we really want something that looks like it's would be an amazing thing. So and often underneath the striver is this misunderstanding that there's a right way or a better way. So those kind of thoughts can get collapsed. And it's tricky because I do think that kind of idea that there's a right decision, there's a right path, or there's a better path, or there's a more evolved path. We can all innocently start to take on these identities. I'm working with a woman right now, and she's this incredibly wise, creative, intelligent woman, and she's done a lot of amazing work, and she just decided to transition out of a company that her and her previous business partner had started together. And in that, in those conversations, she was kind of giving herself a hard time about some choices she had made in the past. With that idea that somehow we should know better,
mm,
that if I were more spiritual, I would have done it better. If I were more evolved, I would have handled that differently, or I wouldn't have even made the choice in the first place. So we create these kind of mental traps or these idealized images of what we think a good person is, or spiritual, or a smart person, or successful. And then we try and live up to this image. And image, it's just imagination. It's not real, but we suffer from it. So that striver that thinks a better life is on the other side of this accomplishment, or love is on the other side of getting it right, or, connection is based on me getting my act together and knowing what to do. You can see how we collapse those thoughts and these ideas, and they create our internal suffering and, often come back on us and haunt us.
mm. Yeah. I've never had that
No, well, try and relate. Do your best. Do your best. Yeah.
happen. I'm one of those people that is just only spiritual. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Didn't get the human card. Well, we
yeah,
appreciate you hanging out with us, Rich.
I know, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
No, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much that resonated with me when you said that the striver just wants to get it right. And it was about 3 or 4 years ago where I was working at this job. I was a weight loss coach. And I mean, I would just put every single decision to this litmus test of trying to get the most out of everything I could and doing it right. And even just like, oh, should I go and meet with this client or let somebody else go and meet with this client? And this little crossroads would become this huge deal because I was so afraid that I was going to mess things up.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you kind of see how that gets in the way of creation, of true creation. And you kind of mentioned at the beginning, like this come from. So it seems to me like if you're coming from that anxiety of getting it right, it makes it harder to create. It makes it more limited because what you create has to be a certain level of perfection or of a certain level of completeness or goodness. And that seems like it would get in the way to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what's helpful is to like just start with what like kind of a bottom line understanding that we're creative by nature. You know, that our minds are designed and have an intelligence to create images, to create futures. Some are scary, some are exciting. You know, we have the ability to create scenarios and potential pictures in our mind, you know, kind of what we're saying. So we're creating all the time. You know, our nature is to evolve. So a child doesn't have to think about learning, it learns. You know, a child isn't thinking about how to walk, it just starts learning, you know, and I love it. It's like one of my favorite stages of, you know, is when a baby is first learning how to just stand up, you know, and you can see them, their little bodies are wobbling and they're grabbing the table or chair, whatever it is. And what they're learning is balance. Now, they didn't say, and the parent didn't say, okay, we're going to work on balance right now, right? You know, it just happens organically and naturally. And then once they start to get more a feel for balance, like, and some people say balance is a sense, right? So once you get a feel for that, then they're like, oh, can I move and do balance at the same time? And again, not logically, right? But that begins to happen. And, you know, that points to a truth, which is there even as adults, that we all have within us this life force, this creative impulse that is constantly evolving us, evolving who we are internally, evolving what we notice, evolving our lives. So again, coming back to what I said early, do you know what's already innate? Because when we understand what's already innate, you realize, like, man, I'm adding a lot of extra work here that isn't really on me and isn't necessary. So you kind of can relax into and get more of a feel for what's present, what wants to evolve, what wants to be created. But yeah, I think if my starting point is like one day I remember early in this business about 15 years ago now, I was staring out the window, a thing I do a lot. I had this great desk that looked out the window at the time. And I just got panicked about my business. I was like, this is not a business. This is not enough clients to sustain me. This is not going to work. And then I started doing activities from that. I started creating lists and send out a couple emails. And I had this moment where I just saw it and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I do not want to create my business from insecurity and fear. Like, I do not want that to be the source of my creative ideas. Because as you said, first of all, it's exhausting and it creates this kind of manicness or hopelessness. And it's not really grounded in deeper listening from what's alive, what's present, or paying attention to what life is offering you, right? It's grounded in fear and insecurity and an imagination and a moment of reactivity. So when we recognize, like, oh yeah, you know, if I don't want to create from fear and insecurity, what else is there, you know? And it's like, oh yeah, how can I listen from that deeper reservoir within, that deeper intelligence, not to get it right, but just to be in relationship with what's alive in me. Where am I being prompted? We all have nudges, we all have curiosities, we all have places where our attention naturally goes and it is interested in. How do I take all that in and listen for what wants to be created? And then, yeah, just to say a little bit more about it, to the degree that we have inner distraction or distortion or reactivity is the degree to which our thinking gets compromised. And in a more constricted, tight, worried internal state, it's often then that all our old conditioned thinking rears its ugly head. And we know it's conditioning because we've thought it before, we've felt it before, and it seems to just validate what losers we are, right? Or how hard it's going to be. So to get out of and experience fresh, it requires that we just do whatever we can to drop in, drop out of the mind, let our reactivity be there. It'll move on. It always does. Nothing is permanent, and then as that happens and we begin to slow down more internally, our minds naturally open. We don't have to try and open it. It's naturally opens. And as we get more quiet inside, more settled, a little goes a really long way. We don't have to be perfect, but a little more air, a little more space, a little more presence, then it allows us to start to have a different kind of thinking. It's, I'm sure you've shared this with your audience, but it's true. It's just such a simple example. It's why sometimes we get our best ideas when we're driving or, out in nature. It's not because the external is doing it. It's because our minds have quieted down.
That's exactly what releasing mental tension is that's what I mean. So I don't know if you're listening, world, when I say releasing mental tension, what she said. No, I love that moment that you saw, I'm creating from a place of insecurity. I had that too, although I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't as aware as you were. And I still create from insecurity sometimes, and I catch myself now.
Yeah.
But I really saw that I was creating from fear. It was about 2 years ago. I was trying to build my business. I didn't have a job. I was kind of recovering from some health things that were very challenging. And I was very fearful. I needed money. And so I was trying to create my coaching business from that. And I have to tell you, it didn't work very well. I ended up with less clients than I started with. I was in this project where we were supposed to create the impossible. And other people were having these like really cool serendipitous things happening with their projects, and mine went,
Yeah.
And looking back, I'm realizing what I was doing is I was creating from fear, and creating from fear. So that the thing about it that I've really seen is that it's really kind of subtle and tricky because it can work. Like sometimes what you create, when you create from fear, you just put so much energy and attention and focus into it that it'll grow up. It's like a plant that grows. But either one of two things happen. Either the plant withers or you wither. And usually, if the thing is succeeding, it's the second one. You're withering inside. And I love that you're showing people a new way. I call it, instead of fearful attention, I was listening to a group call with Amy Johnson, and she said something that was just really struck me. And she said, love and attention are the same thing. And so I realized that I could give something loving attention. And by that, I don't mean that, I fall in love with it. And maybe that's part of what I mean. You can fall in love with what you're doing in the moment when you're giving something loving attention, but really it's just presence. The loving attention and presence are the same things. And what it is it's the absence of the insecurities. And not the complete absence, because they can still be there. But you're not believing them. You're not listening to them. You're going with something new. You're putting your focus on a new way of looking at things. And that sounds like it's kind of what you're talking about too. So I was really excited. It seems like this aligns.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that when we're activated and ruminating or worried, concerned, that we can, where we go to find peace and stability is within. To just see if we can drop our attention away from the mind and just come into the presence more. Whether that's appreciating a tree or a person in front of us or, the work we're into. And I would also add that one of the greatest gifts of kind of looking at what's innate was realizing that, I'm lucky enough that I've lived around the world and I've been able to teach and share and work with companies, organizations around the world. And I haven't met anyone yet from any culture, any level of success, any status, any field of work that doesn't go up and down in their moods, that doesn't get constricted and internal and frustrated or down about things. And once I started to really see, like, bear with me, but it's like no one is exempt. We all have our garden variety kind of favorites, and we have our conditioning from life and childhood and all that. But no one is exempt from the up and down. So I got it really, once I saw that, and I was in China teaching, and it was like one night in my hotel room after kind of reflecting on the day, I realized how much of my work unconsciously, I wouldn't have been able to articulate it before then, this way, but was somehow trying to overcome or master the human experience. And I just thought, wait a minute, if we all do it, then it's a part of the design. If it's a part of the design, there's intelligence in it. Like there's intelligence in the design of the way the mind works, the way emotions work, the way consciousness comes in, the way our bodies heal. Like there's just something in there. And, listen, I didn't, I could easily try and go down the rabbit hole of why then, and answer that question. But there was something about seeing the normalness of it that I realized, like, what if I didn't try to overcome it or control it? What would life offer me then? And it was interesting because I started to see how all of us kind of can unintentionally make our world small. We can have these moments of wanting more aliveness, more connection, to step into new expression. But we haven't really seen that we're keeping our world small because we aren't willing to go beyond the comforts of certain feelings. We aren't willing to test some of those beliefs when we come face to face with them. We think we have to overcome it versus, if we're not trying to overcome it, what else is available to us? And so when I thought like, oh yeah, if I want more intimacy in my relationships, then trying to say I'll do that, but never feel hurt, awkward, or vulnerable. That's That's, or I'm only willing to feel those things if I'm guaranteed the person on the other end, no matter what, will not get upset or will love me no matter, like you start to see all these conditions we put around our heart's desires. Or, I really want to take this leap. I want to do this work, but I'm not willing to look stupid. I'm not willing to become a beginner. I'm not willing to do it bad first. Again, there are these things that innocently we put out there where we're trying to control our internal experience while trying to create something. So the first thing that offered me as it started to show me more and more was, I don't need to control the human experience. What's on offer is to get really good at the human experience. The full range of it. Because the more I understand I'm okay no matter what, that all feeling is a temporary experience and moves through us, that meeting and seeing my worst fear about something is me meeting an imagination or meeting an illusion. So how do I just stick with it and see? Now, we don't have to, Barb the Striver could turn this into self-help. Barb is going to push through all of that, right? Well, as we've said, that doesn't really work. What has worked is giving presence to it all without trying to change it, without trying to master it, without trying to control it. So my ability to kind of be present with when things get stirred, not the story of them, right? The mind is going to be interpreting and making up stories or remind me of past hurts. Not that, but can I get more present to the felt experience of what's moving through me? And our ability to do that, pretty soon, we realize we have the capacity to hold it. We have the capacity for it to move through us. We can meet life. We can welcome what is. And by doing that, then we're naturally keep moving. I know you heard me probably share this in that webinar, but I realized that I could have something feel so alive in me and so aligned and really could feel every part of me as a yes, but I still wouldn't take action. Now, prior, that would have looked like a discipline issue, a commitment issue, or maybe she doesn't really want it, right? But based on what I'm telling you right now, it was like, well, that want is asking something of me I'm uncomfortable with, perhaps. To have a feeling, to step into the unknown, to be vulnerable, to be alive, whatever it might be. So the more that we give presence to that and let the mind do what the mind's going to do, not more presence to the story, but just more willingness to live in the full range of the human experience, then what starts to happen is we naturally create more. I started trying more things, being more, creating more traction than I ever had before through grit and determination and push.
Wow. It's almost like a completely different way of operating. One that's just going to connect with things. Just this natural flow. It seems like that's what it's connecting with, this natural flow that you're not in charge of.
Yeah.
You're kind of tapping into it and letting it take the action.
Yeah.
But it comes with a price tag, it sounds like. And the price tag is you have to really look at it. You have to feel it. You have to not shy away from it, which we're very quick to do. Me too. I will come up against that wall of creation where I get that hesitation and I'm going to stop myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to retreat. But what you're saying is you don't have to try and bust through that. You just meet it.
Yeah.
Could you tell us
beautiful.
more?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'll share a couple of examples.
Sure.
Earlier at the start of this year, I went for a one-on-one intensive with a good friend and a colleague. And I was in this meditation, and I felt like I was floating on the river, and I was on my back. My arms were open, spread wide, and I was just floating. And it was such a beautiful experience. And then I was like, my mind was sort of like, yeah, just surrender more. And then it's like I heard this deeper kind of truth inside say, not even that. That's, like, right, I could step in and the helper, the trying to help myself. And it's like, not even that's required. Can you just allow yourself to be carried? And I saw the mind's desire to want to direct versus allow, right? That somehow my mind has to be directing everything, or it's not going to happen. Or, as you said, it's a protective mechanism. When we come up against something that feels uncomfortable or new or uncertain, or, whatever that might be, the mind will come in to help us out. The mechanism of the mind is to like pull us away from that experience, and take us into the mind to distract or interpret or give us helpful hints, right? But yeah, it was like, this person guiding me was like, just stay in the feeling of surrender, of just floating, of just allowing. And then I noticed some different emotions moving through, and she checked in with me, and I'm like, well, I just feel kind of numb. And literally, again, my mind was like, yeah, we got to go through the numb. The juice is out, through the numb, right? And then, and she was like, stay with numb. Can you feel numb? And it was so funny to think that was the uncomfortable place. Like it. And so I was like, oh yeah, I keep trying to do something about it. And all, and can I just be with? And so, yeah, so part of it is, I'll give you another example. I was having to work on some old tax stuff, and I just felt like anxious about it, and I was avoiding it. And I realized it was like, oh, can I just sit with the anxiety without trying to rush it, cure it? Could I just sit with it? And so one morning when I had a thought come in about it all, and I just got activated and worried, all of that, I just had enough presence of mind and internal space at that moment just to say, okay, rather than rushing to try and fix it or avoid this or deny it, can you sit with the anxiety? And the difference between sitting with the sensation versus the story of it. The story of that anxiety was, you're a bad girl. Why didn't you should have known better. Oh my God, look at what you have to do. This is going to, just all the noise and shame and all of that. And, but meeting it is not meeting that. It's not meeting the story. It's not meeting the judgment. That is not what I mean when I say being with. What I am talking about is, how can I sit with and give my full presence to that fear? Can I sit with and give full presence in the same way I might somebody I love or a client? Can I do that with me without having to try and fix it, alter it, solve it, but just be with it? And by allowing more of that direct experience and being with it, what you see is it takes you places, and it transforms, and it moves, because it's energy. It's just energy. And in that direction is aliveness and connection. And then, yes, things are often revealed to us, but it's allowing that to reveal versus my mind getting in, trying to sort it all out. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I feel like it brought it to a new practical level. I feel
good.
like.
Yeah.
I really love the distinction that you make between being in the story of something and then just being in the felt sense of it.
Yeah.
because that's so important. I think one of the delineations that I've found is that the story is in time, the story is in the past or in the future, but the feeling is always in the present. The feeling is what you're feeling right now. It's not what you felt before, it's not what you will feel. It can't be. You can't you can't feel yesterday's feelings today or tomorrow's feelings today. You can only feel your feelings in the moment. So that's kind of where you go to. Is that what you mean by presence?
Yeah. Yeah. You give your full presence to whatever's there. And listen, sometimes it's a moment, other times it's a little longer, but and your mind is going to come in and start trying to make sense of things. That's not a problem, right? We don't want to turn this into, which I can do, turn it into a formula now to try and get it right. But yes, you're right. Absolutely. It's like I follow the direction of the sensation versus the direction the story wants to take me. And that's a beautiful way to talk about it. But the benefits to it aren't just for the present moment. What it does is we begin to see that we're built to handle it. We increase our capacity to handle all of the human experience. And as a result, we're no longer, afraid of the edges. We invite them. We're no longer afraid or we're less, protective about all of it, or when we are, we can see it more often. But again, we're all still going to choose moments to just be more internal than external. We're going to choose moments to jump out of our feeling. Again, there's no right or wrong here. I think in the quest of understanding ourselves and personal liberation and knowing who we are at our core and the falling away of identities, like all of that is such a rich experience. But it can, if we're not careful, start to look like there's a better way to live our lives. And I think that's the message I want to make sure is heard in all this, is that no, we're just living our lives. And I've enjoyed, when I can, the aliveness that comes by giving full presence to the full range of the human experience rather than trying to orchestrate it or control it. Yeah. And I'm like a baby in this direction. There is still so much for me to see and to learn and grow into and liberate within myself.
Yeah, it's a place to look, but you don't ever come to the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's funny because I used to think that what you meant by, becoming comfortable in discomfort was to really push myself into my discomfort, like to do the cold showers or the fear meditations. And it doesn't seem like that's it at all. It seems like it's more a realization process through presence where you're realizing, oh, this isn't me. This is a temporary experience. And I feel it, and I'm able to. In fact, I'm made to. I have the capability within me. I was born with it. Kids are able to feel what they feel. I have a almost 2-year-old right now, and she has big feelings all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And she doesn't have anything on it.
Yeah.
So I love that piece of just, it's okay to be human.
Yeah.
And that's where life meets the road, that's where the rubber meets the road in this kind of experience of life. Yeah. So to shy away from that or to try and transcend above it is it's asking for something that, first of all, is impossible.
Yeah.
And second of all, I don't think we would want it like that anyway, if we truly realized what was on offer for us right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. I'd love you to have maybe the last word. You can bring all of this into I'm kind of mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm giving you the toughest job. I'd love for you to encapsulate the conversation that we had, or I'll give you an out. Or you can add something that you'd love for our audience to know. Or you can do both.
um, I think the thing that's present for me now too is just to say that, as we allow ourselves to have a more felt experiential knowing of who we are multidimensionally, right? This reservoir of creativity and connection and peace and aliveness, as well as this human having thought, the power of thought, and these internal experiences and all of that. Like, we are these just amazing beings, these amazing creatures. And can we love it all? Can we love the part that hesitates? And not that we have a bunch of parts inside, but, can we love the moments when we hesitate as much as we love the moments that we take the leap? Can I love the moments I decide I go before I even know it, I'm in my head analyzing, judging, doing whatever, as much as I love the feeling when I'm not on my mind at all? Like, the opportunity to love and appreciate all of it, and that it's who we are. We are all of it. It's moving through us. It's a part of life. And so, yeah, I just invite everyone to see if they can let go of the director trying to direct and control it, and see what happens when they allow their presence to lead, allow themselves to meet it all, and to widen the range of their human experience.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, I'd love for you to share how people can find you. I'm going to put it in the show notes too. And I also hear you have a program coming up. So I would
Yeah,
love
yeah.
for you to share that too.
So people can find out about me and what I'm up to at barbarapatterson.com. You can email me directly at barb@barbarapatterson.com. Yeah, and over the last few years, there's been more kind of coming to me around this idea of how do we embody what we know and understand, and let that move us through our lives as we create in our businesses, as we do work with other people. And Isla Coates, who and I think you've had as a guest,
Yeah.
she and I have been working over the last half of this year to create a program that we're launching in January, which is really about this idea of creating a container of transformation, liberation from those identities, from those misunderstandings. How do we create these containers that allow that to fall away, and for us to have more of a felt experience of who we are at our essential core? But then also, how do we embody it? And what's the bridge to the practical? Kind of what you said. It's like, I can have all this rich inner experience, but, how is that? How am I moving with it? How is it impacting the way I move, the choices I make, my ability to create the life I love, the business I love? And, we both have worked with people and individuals for over 25, 30 years apiece. We've worked with audiences from around the world, teens, parents, executives, founders. We've both mentored other practitioners. So we're creating a 5-month immersion for people that work with others, whether you're a coach, a practitioner, a healer, a guide, and that conversation of how what your own ability to be with it all impacts your ability to offer that to others, that relationship. But also, what have we learned about kind of that work and the art of that work inside of a session, inside of a team, inside of a family? So we're super excited about it. It is, for both of us, really caused us, like, just creating this container and really wanting it to be this rich, experiential, transformative, enlightening, but practical and momentum building. Like, it's really had both of us drop into and see some things ourselves, which is always fun and exciting. So yeah, if people want to know about that, they can email me and I'm happy to share more.
Yeah. Well, she's already offered a couple of courses, and I think those will be over by the time that this is released.
Yeah.
But I definitely recommend to check it out. Have a conversation with her. I think in your emails, if you sign up for your emails, you have a way that you can say, hey, I might be interested in this.
Yeah.
Let's talk. So reach out to Barb if that is of interest to you. And yeah, thanks for being on the podcast today. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah, it was really nice to be with you, Rich. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome back anytime.
That's good to know. Okay, phew,
Yeah,
I was worried.
I know. You passed the litmus test.
Okay, good.
No, like the one with Isla Coates is like one of my personal favorite like episodes, and then I feel like this is gonna be one of my personal favorite. I can already tell.
Oh,
So
that's great.
it's like yeah, it's the you two combined. It's like
Yeah,
our
thank
powers
you.
combined.
I know. I was one of
It's
my
been great.
favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cool. All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
see you next time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Light. I'm on a mission to help people release their mental tension because I know that it helps them to be more capable, creative, and compassionate human beings. And I need your help. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like more resources, visit richliferealization.com. Your vibrant life is a single thought away.